You're not here by accident. If this video found its way to you, it's not because of a YouTube algorithm, it's because your soul is waking up. Even if your logical mind still wants to chalk it up to coincidence, something deeper knows this moment was planned. Before you were born, something sacred was set in motion, a blueprint, a contract, a vibrational agreement made long before you had a name. And here's what no one tells you. This is Thoth's most dangerous secret, that your life was never random. It was chosen, crafted, remembered. Everything you've been through, the heartbreaks, the delays, the people who appeared at just the right or wrong time, none of it was meaningless. Each piece was part of the code your soul etched into reality before descending into this body. But when you were born, it all got erased. The forgetting wasn't a glitch, it was by design, a veil placed between what you knew and what you now must rediscover. And only now, only once you're ready, does that veil begin to thin. What I'm about to share isn't some abstract theory or esoteric fluff. This is a vibrational map, one you already carry inside you. I'm just here to help you recognize it, but here's the catch. The map doesn't reveal itself all at once. It unfolds piece by piece, and the first piece is happening right now. You'll start to notice things, patterns, symbols, moments that feel like echoes. You'll realize that what looked like a setback was actually a pivot. What felt like a failure was actually a doorway, and maybe, just maybe, you'll begin to feel the truth that nothing in your life has ever really been random. But to see the whole pattern, the full code, you'll have to stay with me, because what's coming isn't just knowledge, it's remembrance. Take a deep breath, because this is the moment your contract starts to speak again. The soul knows the way, even when the mind forgets, especially when the heart finally goes quiet. Maybe you think you're just living your life doing your best. You wake up, go through the motions, juggle your responsibilities, try to find some peace in between the chaos. But behind that routine, behind the noise, something ancient is calling to you. You can feel it sometimes, can't you? That quiet ache, that sudden tightness in your chest, a wave of emotion that comes out of nowhere and makes no sense. And you try to distract yourself, brush it off, label it as stress or fatigue. But it lingers. That isn't just emotion, that's a signal. There are codes running through your life all the time, not in words, not in signs you can explain, but in vibrations, little disruptions in your routine that pierce through the static and speak directly to your core. Thoth called it the voice of the soul, and that voice doesn't use language the way your mind does. It speaks through repetition, through synchronicity, through patterns. You keep seeing the same number everywhere. You hear the same phrase from 3 different people. You think of a memory and a song plays that matches it perfectly. These aren't accidents. They're fragments of a larger design. Clues your soul is leaving for you, saying, look here, this matters. But most people never see them. Logic gets in the way. The pace of life makes it easy to dismiss these moments as coincidence. But here's the truth on this level of consciousness. Coincidence doesn't exist. Everything that repeats is a signal. Everything that insists is a call. And I guarantee if you slow down and think, you'll remember. You'll remember the moment you thought of someone and they suddenly called you, or that strange dream that later mirrored something real, or that deep gut feeling telling you not to go somewhere, and when you ignored it, things went wrong. That's not superstition. That's vibration. That's the echo of your contract moving in real time. These aren't anomalies. They're the soul's GPS trying to reroute you. Reminders of what was etched in your energy field before the forgetting. And when you start paying attention, you realize you've never been alone. Some signs are so intense they shake your reality. You walk into a room you've never been in before, and it feels familiar. You look into someone's eyes and feel like you've known them for lifetimes. You can't explain it, but something in you recognizes them. That's not just déjà vu, that's activation. Those moments aren't just feelings, they're timelines crossing, versions of you aligning. It's your soul nudging you, saying yes. You're close. These memories aren't stored in your brain. They're stored in vibration. And when the frequency is right, they resurface. This doesn't happen all at once. It's a cycle, a process. And if you're here right now listening, feeling, remembering it, means your time has come. That part of your contract is unfolding now. And that's why things might feel chaotic. Because when the remembrance gets closer, the codes shift. Sometimes everything starts falling apart right before it clicks. When you doors close, people leave, the things that once made sense start unraveling, and your first reaction is to panic, to think you're doing something wrong. But what's really happening? Alignment. Your soul isn't punishing you, it's repositioning you. The world measures success by results, but the soul measures success by resonance. If your life starts veering off course, if you're clinging to what no longer fits, your energy starts resisting. And when that happens, your soul responds, not with force, but with friction. The more you try to force what isn't aligned, the more it slips through your fingers. Opportunities vanish, projects stall, people drift, and it feels like the universe is working against you. But it's not. It's bringing you back to center. And here's the hardest part: the soul doesn't always whisper. Sometimes it shouts. And when it does, things collapse. Jobs end, relationships break, the stability you thought you had evaporates overnight, and it hurts, but it's not destruction. It's a reset. This isn't the universe breaking you, it's your soul activating a pivot point, a moment where the old ends and the new begins. But only if you're willing to listen. When things fall apart, we panic. We fight it. We try to force our way back into old versions of ourselves, thinking if we just work harder, try harder, hold on longer, it'll all go back to normal. But here's the truth: it's not supposed to. When everything around you starts collapsing, plans, relationships, beliefs, it's not the end of the world. It's the end of a version of you that no longer fits the frequency of your soul. It's not failure, it's initiation. And if you felt like your life has been repeating itself lately, you're not imagining it. The same lessons, the same relationship dynamics, the same emotional patterns, different people, different scenery, but the same script. This isn't random. It's the soul's way of drawing your attention to something deeper. These are energetic imprints, unresolved codes, playing on repeat until you remember how to rewrite them. You're not cursed. You're being guided. The universe doesn't repeat things to hurt you. It repeats them to wake you up, to say, you've seen this before. Let's do something different this time. And here's the secret: no one teaches us the pattern isn't in other people. It's in your vibration. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are energetically aligned with. That doesn't mean you're to blame. It means you're powerful. Because if it's your frequency, then you have the power to shift it. And the first step to breaking the cycle is simply this awareness. Start noticing when something feels familiar. When a situation has the same emotional texture as something you thought you already left behind. Don't judge it, just observe, because the moment you see the pattern, you weaken it. Think of each pattern like a pin on a map. When you begin connecting the pins, a picture starts to form, and that picture shows you what your soul has been trying to teach you all along. But not all patterns are superficial. Some run deep, so deep, in fact, that they started before you even had words to describe them. And that brings us to one of the most powerful and misunderstood parts of your soul: contract your family. You didn't end up in your family by luck, genetics, or accident. You chose them. On a level your conscious mind may not remember, but your soul does. And no, you didn't choose them so everything would be perfect. You chose them because their energy would activate the roles, lessons, and gifts your soul came here to develop. Your family is the first spiritual arena. It's where your contract began. And in most cases, it didn't start easy. You were the overly responsible one, the invisible one, the fixer, the scapegoat, the black sheep, the peacekeeper, the one who carried everyone else's emotional weight. These roles might have seemed random, but they weren't. They were training grounds. Each one was a vibrational position carefully selected to awaken very specific traits in you: compassion, resilience, boundaries, courage, empathy. And no, it wasn't fair, but it was sacred, because the soul doesn't judge situations as good or bad the way the mind does. It measures growth, alignment, expansion. That rejection you felt, it taught you how to find your voice. That absence, it forced you to stand on your own. That constant pressure to be perfect, it cracked you open so something real could emerge. You might look back on your family and feel pain. You might feel anger, sadness, even guilt. But here's the alchemy: when you start to understand that your early environment was Spiritual architecture, not punishment. The pain begins to transform. The resentment shifts into awareness. The wounds reveal the gifts. And the family pattern that felt like a curse becomes a portal. Because what happened in your family wasn't just a life story, it was a contractual activation, a vibrational spark that lit the path your soul was always meant to walk. And here's the part that most people miss. You didn't just play a role in your family. You were also training for the role you came here to play in the world. That's why it was so intense. The peacemaker role taught you diplomacy. The scapegoat role taught you independence. The invisible one became the observer, the seer. Everything that felt unfair actually trained you for the work your soul was sent here to do. And yes, this might be hard to believe, especially if your family dynamic was painful. But sometimes the deepest pain carries the clearest signal. The one who was absent taught you how to self-source love. The one who criticized you taught you discernment. The one who never saw you taught you how to truly see others. These weren't random roles. They were spiritual functions that your soul agreed to long before your first breath, because challenge produces evolution. And family, no matter how dysfunctional, is a precise spiritual technology for that. The soul doesn't forget its contract. It only waits for you to remember. And sometimes that remembering doesn't come as a thunderclap, but as a whisper, a quiet pull towards something that just feels like home, even if you can't explain why. That pull is the beginning of the next phase, when your soul starts nudging you toward your gifts. And here's the thing, your gifts have always been there. You didn't earn them. You brought them with you. The way you naturally see patterns, the way your words comfort others, how you instinctively understand people's emotions, these aren't talents you randomly picked up. They're imprints from other lives, old abilities brought forward for this one, and they show up early. Think back to your childhood before the conditioning, before the fear, before the world told you who you should be. What made you feel alive? What did you do effortlessly without needing validation or reward? Maybe it was drawing, fixing things, organizing spaces, listening deeply, building, dreaming. You did it without overthinking. You did it because it made you feel like yourself. That wasn't just play. That was your contract peeking through. But then, like most of us, you were told those things weren't valuable, that they weren't practical, that your real worth was tied to grades, achievements, income status. So you shut it down. You stopped listening to the inner compass. You learned how to perform, how to please, how to survive, but you never unlearned your gifts. They're still there, waiting in the shadows of your daily life, showing up in those moments when you forget to filter yourself. When you slip into flow and time dissolves, that's your soul saying, here, this is you. And when you begin to use those gifts again, not just privately, but consciously, everything starts to shift. Your energy rises, the fog lifts, synchronicities accelerate, you attract the right people, the right opportunities, the next steps, not because you're lucky, but because you're finally in vibrational alignment with the contract you agreed to. And that alignment, it changes everything. You stop chasing, you stop forcing, you stop living from survival and start living from truth. And truth doesn't shout, it resonates. When your outer world starts reflecting your inner frequency, you don't have to force doors open anymore. They open because you're the key, but there's something even deeper that begins to emerge as you align with your path. You start to access memory, not the memory of this life, but the memory that lives beyond it. This is where the Akashic field comes in. The ancients called it the memory of the universe, a vibrational library where every soul, contract, every past life, every decision and lesson is recorded. And you don't need to be a mystic or a guru to access it. You already do. Every time you meet someone and feel like you've known them forever. Every time you walk into a space and get chills like you've been there before. Every time you make a decision based on a deep knowing, not logic, not facts, but intuition. That's the Akasha speaking, not in words, in vibration, in sensations, dreams, inner visions, deja vu moments that feel like they're bleeding in from another dimension. Because they are. You don't need to understand it with your mind. You just need to feel it with your being. And the more you trust it, the stronger it becomes. It's not about accessing something external. It's about remembering what's already in you. Because the Akashic record isn't stored in the sky. It's stored in your field, in the frequency of your soul. And when your energy stabilizes, when your frequency stops chasing survival and starts radiating purpose, the veil begins to thin. You start receiving transmissions, sometimes subtle, sometimes overwhelming, that guide your next move, not in the form of commands, but clarity, a sudden knowing, a deep calm, a quiet yes that cuts through the noise. And sometimes these transmissions come through other people because your soul contract wasn't written in isolation, it's collective. Before you came here, you met other souls, you agreed on roles, you made pacts. Some came to teach you, some came to challenge you. Some came to love you so deeply that their absence would break you open, and others came to hurt you so you could awaken, not because they hated you, but because on the other side, they loved you enough to trigger your evolution. This is one of the most uncomfortable truths. Not every villain in your life is an enemy. Some were volunteers, friends from the higher planes willing to play the hard role so you could remember who you really are. And the ones who helped you the most, they didn't always stay. Sometimes they were just passing through a stranger, a mentor, a brief connection that lit something up inside you. These are activators, souls you plan to meet at the exact moment your contract required them. And the more you awaken, the more you recognize them. Because the contract starts to come alive again. You begin to notice the patterns in your relationships, how the same dynamics show up again and again. But instead of getting stuck, you see the mirror. You understand that every encounter, whether painful or beautiful, carried a function, a purpose your soul agreed to before the beginning. And you don't need to decode it all. You just need to listen, to pay attention, to feel the truth vibrating in your bones, that nothing you've experienced has been random. Not the pain, not the joy, not the people who stayed or the ones who vanished. It was all part of a divine orchestration to bring you here to this moment where you begin to remember. And if you've made it this far, it's because your soul is ready. So here's your activation. Comment below, I am ready to remember my soul contract. Not for me, for you. Because when you speak those words out loud, you're not just typing, you're vibrating. You're calling back the pieces of yourself that were scattered across timelines. And when others see your comment, when they feel the resonance, they're reminded too. This isn't just a video, it's a ripple. It's a portal, and if you want to keep walking this path, there's another message waiting for you right here on the screen. Click it now, because the remembering has only just begun.